Hello everyone, AmyR here with Prairie Paper and Ink, and here is my second post and video for my guest designing spot for Concord 9th. And for today's cards, I used the new Pretty Petals stamp set. And for my first card, I took my card base, which is some heavyweight white cardstock that I had cut to 4 1/4 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2. So it's a top folding A2 size card. And I scored it with my Teflon bone folder, and then I took some Post-it tape and masked off right at the fold there, so it's masking off the back of the card. And then I pulled out just the center of the flower. I was looking at this set and I loved the detail of this, and I was like, and then the wheels started rolling, and I was like, this would actually look really cute, stamped in like all different colors on the back of a card. It almost looks like fireworks, or just even its own little flower. I just think it's really cute. So I pulled out just a bunch of my little memento teardrop inks, which I've had for eons, literally, and just kept inking up this stamp and stamping the multiple colors, and then just wiping it off with a baby wipe in between each color, and just stamping it randomly across this card front. It's really bright, fun colors, really easy. So stamped the entire card front and then decided to stamp them on the inside as well. So flip this over so that I've got the inside of the card and just stamped along the bottom. And I just made sure to stamp the lighter colors higher up on the inside of the card, just in case, the message you're writing is a little bit longer, it goes over those easily, like with a ballpoint pen, and you'll be able to read it. And then I just stamped the darker colors towards the bottom. So once I was done with all of the stamping of all the colors, I needed to add a sentiment. So I lined up the words that come in this stamp set. I just lined them up onto one acrylic block, and I took a scrap of some black cardstock that I had treated with my anti-static powder tool, which just keeps the embossing powder from clinging to anything but the stamped image, especially when you're working on black cardstock. I like to be really generous with the anti-static powder because I'm using detail white embossing powder, and that likes to cling to just about everything. So treated that cardstock with the anti-static powder, had my sentiment there, so I'm inking it up with just a slow drying clear ink, stamping it onto the black cardstock, and then coating it with that detail white embossing powder, just doing that over a coffee filter to catch that excess embossing powder so I can funnel that back into the container when I'm done. And then I let my heat tool heat up for just a little bit first, and then brought it to the paper, melted all of that embossing powder. And then once that's melted and it takes a couple seconds just to cool off, I can wipe off that anti-static powder with my fingers. And then I popped some foam tape on the back of that, popped that onto my card, and that finished off the first card. Super simple, super quick. And of course you can do it in any color combination you want. So finished that one, and then I wanted to make another card using this flower is huge, the main flower in this set. So I pulled up my Misty for this just because I knew I'd probably want to be restamping some of these images more than once. This also would work if you're wanting to mass produce. You could do 10 cards at once with no effort whatsoever. So I did the exact same thing. I'm just using a same size card base. So it'll be a top folding A2 size card. And I lined it up in my Misty and then lined up where I wanted this large flower stamp to be. And then I'm inking it up with some more memento inks. I decided to do purples with this flower. So I started with Lulu Lavender and just went around and inked up the stamp with that, and then stamped it. So I ended up stamping it twice for the base of this flower. And then once I've got that stamped, I get the second layer stamp here and get that lined up, pick it up with the lid of my Misty, and then I'm going to ink that one up with grape jelly ink. And this one I only needed to stamp once. I think the colors smoothed out evenly since I had so many layers of color going on. So stamp that, and then there's these little detail stamps in the set. So I picked those up with the elderberry ink, which is just an even deeper purple. It looks almost black when layered, but stamped that multiple times just to add a little bit more definition, and then picked the center image again, and this time I'm going to ink it up with just black ink and stamp it onto the center of this flower. and had to do it multiple times. My little tuxedo black memento teardrop I've had it for years and I need to re-ink it. I don't really reach for this ink very often as much as I used to, but it's a good ink. I really like this brand. So stamp that, and then stamped part of the sentiment with the same just black ink onto the base. And I'm just going to pull this out of my MISTI, and ended up deciding to stamp. There's this little, it's kind of like a little speckle stamp. So I pulled that out and decided to stamp that onto the petals of the flower just to give it a little bit more definition. So stamp that all around the kind of the edges with that same, this is the grape jelly ink. And then I pulled up my Delicata Golden Glitz ink pad. I just thought this would look so gorgeous with the purples. So I inked up that flower center with that and then stamped it onto the flower. And then I inked up just the word best with that same ink and stamped it right below the main part of the sentiment there. And then once I've got those stamped, I'm going to pick up my Ranger Perfect Pearls gold powder, which I've shown in a few videos lately. It's one of those techniques that once you start doing it again, it's like, oh, now you want to just add it to everything. So I picked that up with a brush and just brushed it over that Delicata ink, which just picks it up. I've never had a problem with the Perfect Pearls smearing afterwards unless you really rub your hands against it. It does have a binder in it, so I've never needed to set it with any sort of spray or anything. And I use a Swiffer cloth afterwards, and the Swiffer cloth just helps to pick up the excess powder on the card and doesn't smear. I don't have a problem. I don't press really, really hard though either. You just lightly sweep it over the card front and it picks up that excess powder like a dream. So I did that, and especially this combination of the Golden Glitz with the gold Perfect Pearls powder, it almost looks foiled. I just love it. So I did that on the inside of the card too. Didn't want to stamp a sentiment or anything, just kept it simple. I just stamped the center a couple times on the inside of the card, quickly brushed over some more of the Perfect Pearls powder just because I could, because it just looked pretty. And then brushed it off the excess with a Swiffer cloth, and that finished off this card. So really fun cards, just fun colors. And as always, I'll have a link below my video to the blog post with links to all the supplies used. So check that out below if you are interested, and I'll have links to a couple more videos that I posted recently. Thank you all so much for watching, subscribing, and thumbs upping my videos. I really appreciate it. And I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye!